welcome back to Animal Adventures. My name is Kylynn and I'm with my very special friend named Marbles today. And Marbles is very loving, very sweet, very playful, and also overweight. And I want to talk a little bit about things that can impact her due to her size. And don't worry, this video isn't going to be making Marbles feel bad about her size. I just want to point out a couple of things in this video about weight management and healthy feeding tendencies. So the first area that Marbles is struggling in is her inability to groom all parts of herself. And that's because she can't reach her back end and certain parts of her body, and therefore those areas can get soiled and she can't reach them to groom them. And that's been okay because we are currently cleaning those areas for her, and since she's such a wonderful and loving cat, I'm sure that she's going to find an adoptive home really soon with somebody who's more than willing to do that job for her. However, the problem is that Marbles doesn't like that being done to her. It makes her really upset, and therefore it's a struggle that she has to undergo every day in her life. So while she's working on eventually decreasing her weight, while we're working on helping her to decrease her weight, and the goal is to eventually get her back down to a weight where she can groom her whole body, there's another thing also that she's currently suffering from, and that's joint pain. It's really hard for her to jump up and down from surfaces, even short surfaces, and the impact can cause pain in her joints and on her body. Sometimes even holding an animal like a cat or a dog or another pet that is overweight can be painful to them. It can put pressure on their joints and different organs in their bodies and cause a little bit of discomfort during the love and cuddling process. So these are a couple of things to keep in mind in hopefully trying to keep your pet at a healthy weight. So I want to introduce you to my good friend Dhalia, and she's a Russian tortoise that's currently available for adoption at our shelter. And she's a favorite by shelter staff because not only does she love people and she's super adorable, but she also loves to eat. And in the morning when it's time for breakfast, she'll come running right out to meet you if you have her food for her. And the reason why I'm showing you her is because I want to point out how wonderful her shell looks. She has a big, beautiful shell, and that is a good sign. It means that she's likely been fed a balanced and healthy diet throughout the duration of her life. But unfortunately, it's all too common for pet turtles to have shell deformities that are a result of too much food, likely too much protein and too much fat in the diet, or an imbalance between phosphorus and calcium. So there is such a thing as loving your pet too much, and unfortunately, even though Dhalia here has a wonderful, beautiful shell, it can be quite common for turtles to have a deformed shell, and it can be painful if you don't feed your pet the proper diet or in the right amounts. So how can you be careful to keep your pet at a weight that doesn't inhibit their natural behaviors? First of all, do your research. And I know I'm always saying this, but do research before adopting a pet, and even while you own that pet. Make sure to talk to your veterinarian as your #1 resource about what diet is best for your animal. And then anything else you read in books or online, at least double check every single fact and statement about what's a good item for them to eat to make sure that somebody isn't accidentally telling you the wrong thing that could make your pet unhealthy. Second, maintain your pet's natural activity levels. Especially when animals are young, they tend to be highly active. And then as they age, or depending on their personality, they become a little bit more laid back and tend to start sleeping and relaxing more. So the more you can play with them and engage them, the better. That means they'll be moving their bodies around and getting exercise. If you have an animal that's in an enclosure and you never take them out of that enclosure, then what are they supposed to do all day except lay around and eat? Because that's one of the few pleasures they have in life. Even though we all enjoy eating, it's also important to provide your pet with other pleasures in their lives, like lots of play and activities to engage their mind and body. Don't get tricked into providing your pet with something that's bad for them. A perfect example of this is those silly flavored yogurt drops I'm always seeing at pet stores. They're available for sale for small animals like rabbits and guinea pigs and rats and hamsters. And these are not good for your pet. They're unhealthy for them. They have unnatural flavors and lots of sugar in them. So be aware that even though these items are not good for your animal, manufacturers are still making them to try and make a profit off of them. Don't be fooled into buying these items. Last but not least, let's talk about poop. And I know it's gross, but it's so important. You can't be a good pet owner and not deal with poop every single day. So before you get an animal, be aware, what is their poop supposed to look like? Get familiar with your pet's poos, and any change you see in their poop is something that could potentially be going on with them. So not only be aware of what's going into your pet, aka their treats and food, but also be very aware of what's coming out. Also, and I do this with my dog all the time because sometimes I get him new food, and it's common for occasionally his poops to get pretty soft, and I have learned to recognize that as overfeeding. So that means that the new food is very nutrient dense and I'm giving him a little bit too much of it, and that causes his poos to go soft. So even though it's yucky, it's important to be super familiar with your pet. That's one of the best ways to be aware of their health and what's going on with the inside of their body. If you see any change that makes you uncomfortable, call your vet right away. Alright, you guys, thanks for hanging in there with me, especially while I talk to you about pet poop. I'll see you all next time with a new animal adventure.